Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. I'm of course your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic day. In this episode of the Music Den, I'm going to be taking a look at and ranking the mid-'80s Rush catalog, in particular three albums that Rush released from 1984 to 1987. Um, it has been said that Rush around the mid-'80s point started to rely on a lot of keyboard textures, use of synthesizers, drum machines or electronic drums, and basically moved away from their more progressive sound to more of a pop rock type of sound, in particular in the mid-'80s from 84 to 87. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to listen to all three mid-'80s albums, those albums being Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, and Hold Your Fire. And I wanted to give, if my 2 cents counts for anything, I wanted to give my top three Rush albums of the mid-'80s. And I've done so. I've compiled my list. And yeah, it's a short list. It's only the top three. But you know what? Um, upon listening to these three albums and being familiar with Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures and Signals and Presto, there did seem to be a shift, moving away from live instrumentation like acoustic drums to more of electronic drum sampling, using the drum pads to hit certain sounds, certain effects, and using more keyboard textures, more synthesizers. Um, I wanted to give you my top three albums in terms of the mid-'80s output. So I put my list together again. I've listened to all three albums back to back. Again, those albums being Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, and Hold Your Fire. So these are my top three mid-'80s Rush albums. Coming in at number three for me is Hold Your Fire. Released September 8th, I believe, of 1987, featuring the lead-off single Time Stands Still with Amy Mann of Till Tuesday on background vocals, and well, co-lead vocals, I could say. And also songs like Mission and Lock and Key and Prime Mover, which was a single in the UK, reaching number 43, produced by Peter Collins. Out of the three mid-'80s albums that were released, for me, this has got to be the weaker of the three. It relies heavily on keyboards and synthesizers and sound effects and uh, program drums in terms of using electronic drums, Simmons drums, I think it is that they were called in the mid-'80s. The songwriting for me, with the exception of Time Stands Still and Lock and Key, and to a lesser extent Mission, is quite weak. I'm sorry. It's just they rely on too much on keyboard oriented music. A lot of use of synthesizer, a lot of use of program sound effects. I mean, it sounds too labored for me. I mean, in reading up on what was done in terms of the recording process, a lot of recording sessions were used to record samples of sound effects for certain tracks. And it it sounds overproduced, overlabored, if that's a proper term that can be used for it. So I mean, Time Stand Still is a fantastic track. I remember the video when it came out. It was great. I loved the fact that they used Amy Mann on co-lead backup vocals on this. But over time, has it stood the test of time? Unfortunately, not for me. So that's number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Power Windows. Released in 1985, produced by Peter Collins and the band. The big single for me was The Big Money, right? And if you saw the video, it used early form of computer graphics that were done in Toronto and New York. The Big Money for me was excuse me, was the main single from the album, the best single from the album. Again, it's starting to use a lot more keyboard textures and samples. Great bass work on this album from Geddy Lee, using a lot of bass pedals and stuff. But again, it is still much more of the keyboard oriented type of pop rock. That they moved heavily away from the progressive rock compositions that they were known for, which they still utilized on Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures, and to a smaller extent Signals. But it is a good album. I mean, again, the other hit single from the album was Mystic Rhythms. Again, fantastic track. Heavy use of keyboards, but it you could definitely see a shift in the compositions. Coming in at number 1 for me is Grace Under Pressure. Recorded at Morin Heights in Quebec, produced by the band mostly, with Peter Henderson coming in, to give ideas. A little bit of background on this album. They were having trouble finding a producer. They were looking at people like Trevor Horn, Chris Squire of Yes. Chris Squire is a big hero of Geddy Lee. They just could not nail down a producer for this album. So they started to work on the album on their own, and Peter Henderson would come in and give them suggestions here and there. But primarily the album was produced by the band themselves. Peter Henderson, for some reason, is given co-producer credit on this album. I don't know why. But the album is a lot stronger than Power Windows and Hold Your Fire by a long shot, in my very humble opinion. With the lead off single, Distant Early Warning, fantastic track. The guitars are more prominent on this album than they are on Power Windows and Hold Your Fire. More Power Windows than Hold Your Fire. But Alex Lifeson does a fantastic guitar solo on Distant Early Warning. Red Sector A, fantastic track. If you've seen the video for it online, look it up on YouTube. Fantastic live video for it. It's basically talking about a nuclear war happening and trying to survive the aftermath of said war going on. a great heavy track. The other single from the album is The Body Electric. Great, fantastic track. What I noticed on these tracks, especially on The Body Electric, they started to use elements of ska in their compositions, which, again, they're moving away heavily from the progressive rock type of compositions that they were doing, the extended pieces of music. Actually, they started to move away from that as far back as Moving Pictures. And they wanted to sort of tighten up their songwriting structures and stuff. But I mean, on this album, they still have sort of the rock elements, live instrumentation and stuff. But again, it is a fantastic album. The reason for the title, Grace Under Pressure, was the fact that, number one, Neil Peart was a major fan of Ernest Hemingway. Neil Peart, has got to be said, he was a reader of Ayn Rand and Ernest Hemingway and authors of that nature. And it was a quote given by Ernest Hemingway, forgive me. And he liked the quote, and he wanted to use the title Grace Under Pressure. And it also reflected the fact that they basically felt that at this time they had their backs against the wall with regards to getting this album off the ground in terms of the recording process. Again, they were having trouble finding people to commit to this project in terms of a producer. So they wanted to start the album on their own, which they did. And they came out of it, at the other side of it, all the better for it. It is a fantastic album. But out of the three albums that I mentioned in this list, it is a short list. This is, for me, the top of the three. It's got to be said. So just to recap, number 3, Hold Your Fire. Sorry, but it's the way it is. Again, I don't find the songwriting, with the exception of 3 tracks, all that strong on this album. And sorry, it's the way it is. Again, it is just my opinion. Coming in at number 2, Power Windows. And number 1 of top 3 mid-80s Rush albums is Grace Under Pressure. So please, down below, please give me your top 3 mid-80s Rush albums and let me know your opinion. Do you like this period of the band? Do you think it's too watered down? Do you think they rely too much on keyboards? Or do you see this progression of Rush in terms of music composition a natural progression? Again, please let me know what you think. And once you've seen this video, you would have probably seen the video I've done with Peter Kent of the Lizard King channel on album ranking of Van Halen. Hope you enjoyed that. And I will be doing more videos coming up soon with Bill Schuster. We're going to be talking about Joe Jackson, and we're going to be doing at some point the elusive Pink Floyd album ranking. I'm also going to be doing a video coming up with Peter Kent. We're going to be doing an album discussion on Black Sabbath, Sabotage, coming up this weekend. We're going to be taping it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And yeah, again, click like and subscribe, and please click the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up on the channel. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye for now.